Good morning, students. Today we are going to start a new topic in chemistry O levels, that is energy changes. So concentrate yourself. We are going to start now. Energy changes in chemical reactions. All chemicals have energy stored in the form of the chemical energy. During a chemical reaction, changes to the stored chemical energy occurs. The chemical energy is changed into other forms of the energy such as heat energy, light energy, and electrical energy. Most energy changes that occur during a chemical reaction involves heat energy. Unit of the energy is the kilojoule, represented by kJ. The topic of energy changes is exothermic reactions. A reaction that gives out heat to the surroundings is called an exothermic reaction. Exo stands for outside and therm stands for heat. Chemical reactions become hotter or colder as they proceed. Reactions give out or absorb heat for making or breaking of the chemical bonds. Making chemical bonds give out heat to the surrounding. Here is a general figure of exothermic reactions. Here is a container which is containing reactants and products. In the reaction, heat will be given out to the surrounding. So that's why temperature of the surrounding rises. The surrounding consists of the reaction container, the laboratory room, and anything else other than the reactants and products. So in short, other than the reactants and products, everything is called surrounding. The temperature of the surroundings increases. The reaction container becomes hot. The total energy content of the products is lower than the total energy contents of the reactants because heat is given out. That's why heat energy content of the products will be lower than that of the reactants. Here is a energy level diagram for exothermic reactions. This is the general diagram, energy level diagram of the exothermic reactions. Remember, students, in paper you are required to make the energy level diagram of some reactions, either may be endothermic or exothermic. So learn this diagram carefully. This is the general energy level diagram of exothermic reactions. Reactants will be put above, products will be put down, arrow will be downward, heat energy given out to the surrounding. That's why heat will be given out to the surrounding. Energy level of the reactants will be higher than that of the products. Delta H is negative and this arrow will be upward. So learn this diagram, practice this diagram again and again by writing. Delta H represents the heat of the reaction, that is the heat change that occurs during a reaction. Delta H, pronounced delta H. Delta H is equal to the difference between the energy contents of the products and that of the reactants. Delta H is given a negative sign for exothermic reactions. An energy level diagram shows the energy change for a chemical reaction on a scale. It is not a graph. The scale may have energy values on the vertical axis, but it is more usual to show only the energy value for the difference between the levels. An example is coming now in which you will be required to write down the equation and to draw the general energy level diagram for the reaction. This is a question of past papers. When 1 mole of the carbon reacts with 1 mole of the oxygen, 400 kg of the energy is released. So if energy is released, this is exothermic reaction. A part requirement is write a complete equation that gives this information. So equation is here, C plus O2 forms CO2. Delta H is minus 400 kilojoule per mole. Carbon is in solid form, oxygen is in gaseous form, carbon dioxide is in gaseous form. B parts requirement is draw a energy level diagram for the process. So here is the energy level diagram for the process. Reactants will be put above, products will be put down. Here will be downward arrow. Delta H is minus 400 kilojoule per mole given in the question. And this arrow will be upward. Energy will be written on it. The charcoal, carbon, reacts with oxygen in this barbecue. Heat from the exothermic reaction cooks the food. Because heat from the charcoal is given out to the surrounding, due to which this barbecue will be cooked. Other examples of the exothermic reactions. One is combustion reactions. Here is the combustion of hydrogen. Equation is here. Here is the combustion of magnesium. Equation is here. Here is the combustion of methane. Equation is here. Practice these equations again and again by writing. You have to learn these balanced equations because in paper we do not have much time to balance the equations. So our practice should be enough, more than enough, to write the equation in a very fluent way. Combustion of the ethanol, equation is here. Another example of the exothermic reaction is respiration. Burning food in the body liberates energy. Combustion of the carbohydrate, equation is here. So, the very important thing in this topic exothermic reaction is practice the equations again and again by writing at home. We do not have much time in paper to balance the equation and think about time will be very short in the exams. So make your practice perfect. This is the time you can do it now. Next example of the exothermic reaction is neutralization reaction. Reaction between an acid and an alkali liberates heat energy. Aqueous sodium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid. Equation is here. NaOH plus HCl forms NaCl plus H2O. Aqueous sodium hydroxide and ethanoic acid. Equation is here. NaOH plus CH3COOH forms CH3COONa. This is sodium ethanoate plus H2O. Aqueous potassium hydroxide and nitric acid. Equation is here. KOH plus HNO3 forms KNO3 plus H2O. This is potassium nitrate. Another example of the exothermic reaction is converting anhydrous salt to hydrated salt. Adding water to anhydrous salt produces a hydrated salt and heat energy is given off. White anhydrous copper sulfate to blue hydrated copper sulfate, equation is here. CuSO4 plus 5H2O forms hydrated copper sulfate, that is CuSO4 5H2O. Next example of the exothermic reaction is Haber process. Heat energy is given off when ammonia is manufactured from nitrogen and hydrogen. Equation is here. N2 plus 3H2 forms 2NH3. Next example of the exothermic reaction is contact process. Heat energy is given off when sulfur dioxide is oxidized to sulfur trioxide. 2SO2 plus O2 forms 2SO3. Another example of the exothermic reaction is formation of hydrogen chloride. Formation of hydrogen chloride from its elements is an exothermic reaction. Equation is H2 plus Cl2 forms 2HCl. Next example of the exothermic reaction is chemical cells. In chemical cells, chemical energy is transformed into electrical energy. And the last example for today in exothermic reaction is nuclear reactions. So this was the topic, students. This is very important topic. As far as your chemistry paper is concerned, the thing which is required in this topic is, very important thing is energy level diagram. Learn it, practice energy level diagram by writing it again and again, and the balanced equations and the examples and the main concepts of this topic. So read this lecture again very carefully and make your notes. Thank you so much.